forecast. We'll make sure you're not bored to death, but all your friends have disappeared, and you're the last one left. If you wanna live, I suggest not doing drugs and having sex. Run through the forest grasping for breath, as you're chased by a maniac wearing a mask of flesh, tripping over dead friends. This isn't over until you get revenge. Final girls try to survive in a violent world. It's eye for an eye. Hide behind doors, lying underneath beds, trying to bide your time and find your strength, and figure out how much time it takes to escape before it's too late, or come face to face with a grim fate. Welcome to Class Horrorcast. Let's see how long you last as you torture to death. So come join your host Aaron and Tomcat as we bring you a podcast that will leave you laughing in a body bag or a bloodbath. Welcome to Class Horrorcast. Let's see how long you last.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Horror Hangout. I hope to get some people in here. This was a little bit of a thrown together one today. I want to jump on and talk about some stuff that I have seen recently, actually. We're just waiting, some people coming in. Hello, everybody. Anybody's there? Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if that music is too obnoxious in the background also. Anyone out there, let me know. How's the music doing? Too loud? Not loud enough? Get rid of it. Also, actually, for everybody who's been asking, this background is not a green screen. This is a physical background. So those things are all really there. A new little thing actually in my collection, if you guys can see right here, is the Leatherface mask from the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Cool mask, actually. It's really grown on me, to be honest with you. So that is actually there. And I also actually picked up the Leatherface mask from Texas Chainsaw 3D, which has also grown on me as a movie. So that's sitting right there currently. But yeah, no, this is not a green screen. These are all physical things that I can touch and look at and whatever. So yeah, looks good though, right? It must look good if it looks like a green screen. Welcome in, everybody. Okay, I guess we'll get stuck into it pretty much straight away. I'm gonna kill this music, I think. I don't think people are gonna be interested in listening to it. And nobody's letting me know anyway whether it's good or bad in the background, so we'll just knock that off for now. So yeah, one of the first things that I watched, so I've been pretty sick over the last few weeks. Had a sinus infection and managed to catch some other kind of norovirus or something like that. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. So yeah, I did manage to catch that on top of that. So I actually thought at one point I might die. So just to make me feel a little better, I suppose I started watching shit tons of movies because I literally couldn't do anything else. I couldn't pick up my phone, couldn't even think about recording, couldn't think about writing anything. I was just like completely gone. So yeah, I started to watch a lot of movies that I've been meaning to watch and just didn't have time to, or just didn't set aside the time to do it. Excuse me. Also, you can see I'm wearing my Camp Crystal Lake hat. I just finished recording a episode with my co-host Tom on Friday the 13th reboot remake from 2009. So that's a really fun episode. Actually, I had a really good time on that. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that one. So yeah, anyway, one of the first movies that I checked out when I was sick was 1986's Crawlspace. Don't know if many of you guys have seen it. So just to give you a kind of summary of how crazy this movie is for so many reasons. Crawlspace centers on Carl Gunther, who was played by Klaus Kinski, which is just already insane. He is a former Nazi doctor who manages an apartment building. Unbeknownst to his tenants, Gunter has rigged the building with secret passageways and surveillance systems, allowing him to spy on them and manipulate them. His sadistic tendencies escalate as he subjects his tenants to psychological and physical torment, leading to a series of gruesome events. Now, I don't even know. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers because, I'm trying to maybe not do that so people actually go and watch the movies. Let me know if anybody does want to hear maybe a more in-depth little mini episode or something talking about them, where we can talk about spoilers and stuff. But obviously, Klaus Kinski is just absolutely psychotic to begin with. Wild man, an actual genuine wild man. If you guys haven't looked up anything about him, check his story out. Super fascinating guy, though. As much as I don't agree with some of the stuff that came out about him, for some of the things he supposedly said. It would have been fascinating to be able to have him on the show or interview him, as wild as that would have been, because I hear several reports back from people who interviewed him over the years, and he would absolutely just make you feel like a piece of shit. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, some interesting facts about this movie. Obviously, he was notorious for his volatile behavior on set. The director of this movie, David Schmoller, I think it is, documented these challenges in his short film, Please Kill Mr. Kinski, highlighting the difficulties working with the actor. Supposedly, he actually thought at one point he was going to shoot Klaus Kinski because he drove him that insane that he couldn't stick it anymore. I think the movie had a lot of budget constraints as well. Like it had a pretty, you can tell it was pretty low budget, and obviously that's why it was like a confined setting and a minimalistic kind of approach. But it really made like the claustrophobia and stuff really, like really good. I don't know if any of you guys watching have actually seen this movie. Let me just bring something up on screen so you can have a quick look at what I'm talking about. So this is the movie that I'm talking about. A really good movie, actually. Like a wild, wild movie, but a really enjoyable one nonetheless. There's good old Klaus Kinski. Oh yeah, so he does this thing right where he plays Russian roulette basically with himself. So it's really strange, right? So there's a points in it where he, like right near the start, he takes a single bullet, and for some reason he cuts his finger, and then he puts the blood on the bullet. I don't know why he does that. And he puts it back in the gun, and then he loads the gun. He spins the barrel, pushes it back in, puts the gun to his head or in his mouth, and pulls the trigger. And then I can't remember exactly what it is he says, but he says something like, if, like, obviously, if it doesn't blow his head off, which it doesn't, most of the time, he kind of says, like, you know, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, or something like that. Basically, saying that if he's not meant to continue and keep like torturing these people and doing all this weird shit, that you know he would the gun would blow his head off. So the fact that it's not blowing his head off is enough for him basically to tell him that he should just continue doing whatever he's doing, which is kind of fucking batshit crazy, but very strange looking guy. Uh, Very weird actor, but like there's something, I don't know what it is. There's something about him that just draws me in. Like every time I see him in movies, there's just something about him that I don't know. I find it really hard to explain like exactly what it is. But yeah, he's just a fascinating, like this should just show you everything you need to know about how crazy this movie gets. You know, he's showing up at a Nazi salute and wearing the SS. Just yeah, just crazy. There's some really cool scenes as well about like with the buildings, crawl spaces and stuff. He uses them to like stalk the victims and things like that. So he's going through like the ventilation ducts and like looking through the little you know, like the vents in the wall. Like he's like peeping through and watching different things, which is really cool. But he is literally the best thing about this movie. He's so good in it. It's like there's an image of him. This is it with like blood and stuff on his mouth. I don't know why I find that so haunting, to be honest with you. And he kind of reminds me, not to offend anybody or whatever, but he kind of reminds me of an Anthony Hopkins. Not gonna lie, does kind of look like Anthony Hopkins to me. Um, I don't know how Anthony Hopkins would feel about me saying that, but yeah, he does. He does kind of remind me of that. Anything you'll see about Klaus Kinski as well just mentions that he's absolutely psychotic and mental and just crazy and a lunatic. So yeah, there is that too. Um, but yeah, a lot of people here in the that I can see that are watching this, but nobody's commenting for some reason. I would love if you guys got a little bit more involved and maybe commented and give me your opinions, maybe some stuff you've been watching or whatever, and let me know. Before we move on to the next movie that I seen, which is another super weird one. Let me pull this up. Where am I? There we go. So the next movie I watched is another movie actually from 1986, which is kind of strange. I never even realized the correlation. They're both of them were released in 1986, and it is Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Set in rural Louisiana, the film follows Evelyn Chambers, who, after being released from a psychiatric hospital, resumes managing a secluded motel. Following a psychotic break, Evelyn murders her daughter and begins targeting the motel's guests, setting deadly traps to eliminate them. I've always seen the images for this one. I'm sure you guys probably have too. You know, like this kind of stuff. I've definitely I've seen all that stuff. That's kind of a cool tagline, actually. Please do not disturb Evelyn. She already is. I never seen that one before. Yeah, but that's the kind of I've seen that image a lot of like the crazy lady poking out through the thing. This one's weird. It's like definitely like very, very low budget and kind of shot like in a really weird like video format. I did read that the film actually faced like a lot of production hurdles, like budget limitations, problems with the locations, and that's why it has that raw kind of gritty aesthetic. It works for it, like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just has a weird kind of a style to it. I don't know how to explain it. You'd have to actually look at it to see what I mean. But the movie has actually gained like a pretty big cult following for like its tension and the unique nature of it, I suppose. But when it came out, I think it was just panned. Like all the reviews, everybody just thought it was absolute garbage. Nobody liked it, I don't think. There's some like cool scenes again. I don't want to give too much away because I feel like these are things people should definitely see. Like they are enjoyable. But just do that thing. Try and like there's another guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, called Dave McRae, that has a really good YouTube channel. He does like a lot of live shows and things like that. And he was talking about like telling people like, you know, act like it's 1995, act like it's 1997. Just go on, pick a movie and watch it. Don't look at any reviews, don't look at any TikToks, don't look at the trailer, don't look at anything. Look at the thumbnail, read the little blurb about what it's about. And if it sounds like something you might like, just stick with it for the hour and a half, whatever it is. That's the way we should probably go back to start watching movies. And I feel like had I have not have been sick and couldn't do my usual thing where I would like reverse engineer and talk myself out of watching a movie, that's the only reason I'd say I watched all these without any like I didn't go again. I just watched them because I was so sick. I couldn't go on my phone, I couldn't do anything. So it was like it was kind of a good thing in a way. There is a really cool scene actually with a snake attack in this. She releases snakes into one of the guest rooms and it's kind of unique and weird. I think she does it as well with rats, which is kind of freaky. If you're not into that stuff. There's also this trap door thing that she uses to catch people. There's like a trap door in the floor for people to fall down into. It's definitely worth a watch. Like again, don't expect Oscar worthy, you know, performances or anything like that, but it is definitely decent. Like it's a decent watch if you're looking for something different, something strange. But yeah, the vibe of it is weird. The aesthetic of it is very strange. I don't know how to explain it. Let me know if any of you guys have seen that movie actually and what you thought of it. Again, we have a lot of people here watching, so feel free to comment. Let me know your thoughts, your theories. I guess we'll move on to the next movie. I don't even think I'll pull the screen away. So the next movie that I've seen is one that I actually really enjoyed, and this had no right to be in any way good, or I shouldn't have enjoyed it at all. It is bear in mind I can't remember ever seeing the first two, but for some reason this image just made me want to watch this movie. And it is It's Alive 3: Island of the Alive from 1987. So in the third installment of the It's Alive series, mutant infants are quarantined on a deserted island to protect society. Years later, a group, including the father of one of the mutants, embarks on an expedition to study them. They discover that the children have grown and evolved, leading to a deadly confrontation as the mutants seek to return to the mainland. So, as you can probably tell, this one is whew, this one's out there. This one's pretty wild, to be honest. Very strange movie, but I fucking loved every minute of it. So fun. Just it just has that classic like late 80s, early 90s vibe. Um Again, awful movie, awful effects, awful acting, but it's just so good. Like so good, so worth a watch. So bizarre. Doesn't really make sense. There's a scene there where she's birthed in one of those things, which, you know what, as a kid, probably would have scared the shit out of me, like really bad. I can imagine that I would have been absolutely horrified by that. But it's actually really well shot. It's one of the more creepy scenes, I think, in the whole thing. With the taxi driver and the cop or whatever. It's a really interesting scene. The courtroom scene as well, actually. Uh, so basically, what's happening is like the public want to get rid of these mutant things, and I think they want them killed. And the dad of one of them is in court, like defending it, whatever. And they basically say, like, we're going to bring, if this is your son and he's so nice and whatever, we're going to bring him into the court. They bring him in a cage and he's like chained up and shit. And he's like, looks like one of those little mutant, like big fat headed things. And they're like, well, if he's your son, like, you know, go up to him and like, I, I don't know, it's really weird. Like, they're like treating him like an animal. And they're basically saying, you know, I don't know, go up to him and like pet him like a dog. Now, I'm not sure how that would prove that it's your son, but apparently it would. Apologies, guys. My dog is having a fit downstairs, which is great. Just bear with me, everybody, for 1 second. I think I'm back. So yeah, they want him to like pet his son or whatever, like prove that like his son is not a danger or something like that by doing that. Sorry, guys, there's an issue here with my audio or something. There we go. I think I fixed it. One of the cables was sticking out. So yeah, they want him to like pet his son or something and like prove that he's not like a mutant or he was just a regular kid. And the dad, he actually kind of does it. And at first, it seems like the mutant thing is not going to do anything. And then he like breaks the chains off and like bends the bar and jumps out. And it's this whole big fucking thing anyway. And the dad convinces the judge to like sign some sort of court order to send all these mutants away to an island somewhere so they don't get killed, and he goes along with it. Kind of an interesting scene. For some reason, I was bizarrely like invested in it. I don't know why, because it's like badly acted and just like shite. But somehow I was invested. And then when they go to the island, obviously, as you can imagine, it just kind of goes from there. Um, it's really bizarre. Like, I mean, you can see from some of the images, it's just odd. But like they've grown up when they go back. And they're like kind of bigger mutants. They look like this. Again, like they just look so dumb. It's just actually unbelievable. Like, but that's a good watch though. I would definitely give that a go. If you guys haven't seen it before, you're just looking for something random or fun, I would definitely give it a go. This was something that I saw also, which I thought, right, just from the cover, I love Maniac Cop and things like that. This movie is fucking badass. I loved this movie. So obviously this must be the second one. I have yet to see the first one. And for some reason the DVD or Blu-ray of the first one is like impossible to find. So and I enjoyed this movie that much actually that I wanted to buy like a German media book of it so I could get like the commentaries and stuff. Um so basically Officer Joe Vickers, a demonic police officer, crashes an after-hours office party. As the night progresses, Vickers embarks on a killing spree, targeting the partygoers in gruesome and darkly comedic ways. Very fun movie. Very fun watch, to be honest with you. I enjoyed this thoroughly, way more than I had any right to. Tom says, I've never seen Maniac Cop. Maniac Cop, dude, we should do, I'd like to do like a little deep dive on that. You've got Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop 2, and Maniac Cop 3. I think it is Badge of Silence or something. We should do like a little deep dive. Like you could do the three of those in like 90 minutes. But this is another like Maniac Cop, PsychoCop. So there's that. Um, but yeah, it's like it's more, I suppose, comedic, I think, than the first one. I haven't seen the first one yet, but from what I hear, the first one's a little bit more serious compared to this one. This is a little bit more comedic. So there is that. There's a lot of like over the top kills and one liners and stuff that I can see why it's like a cult movie, like in the kind of B movie sort of stuff. I can definitely see why. There's a coffee cup kill scene in it. So he uses a coffee cup as a weapon to kill someone. I won't give it away. I definitely recommend people should watch it. Um, and like even like the tagline on the thing kind of sounds like Maniac Copy. You have the right to remain dead. And I think doesn't Maniac Cop have one? You have the right to remain silent forever. So it's like, yeah, kind of a rip-off, I suppose. Um, but yeah, it's good fun though. It's definitely worth watching. I would check that out if I were you guys. This one I posted about on social media actually that I was watching this for the millionth attempt, which is Carnival of Souls 1998. So it's that like Wes Craven Presents. So for people who don't know, right, those series of films, those like Wes Craven Presents, people think like with some of these, like Wes Craven was like super involved. Not the case, I hear. Sometimes these were just name only, where he'd put his name to it. Not sure why. Don't know if it was a money thing. Don't know if it was a tax thing or what it was. But yeah, he put his name to it, and I don't think he really had much involvement in some of this stuff. But yeah, this is a remake of the 1962 classic. It centers on Alex Grant, a young woman who survives a traumatic car accident. She relocates to a new town only to be haunted by eerie visions and pursued by a mysterious figure, leading her to question her sanity and reality. So I like another movie from the 2000s, and let me get it up here so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Not a lot of people know about this movie. I think it's a 2001 movie, and it is called Soul Survivors. Has some notable names in it. It has Wes Bentley, Casey Affleck, Elijah Dushku. Melissa Sage Miller, Luke Wilson, Angela Featherstone. Like there's a lot of names in it, I guess. But yeah, it's so this is like the synopsis, I guess, for this is sometimes living or dying comes down to a matter of choice. It took Annabelle and Matt to help their shattered friend make that choice. Help what would make that choice? Help that would prove a killer journey. A college freshman, Cassandra Cassie, steps into a nightmare of otherworldly visitations after surviving a devastating car accident. Okay, that does a fucking terrible job of explaining this film, but I really enjoyed this movie. So it's a psychological thriller starring Melissa Sage Miller as a college student, Cassie, whose boyfriend Sean dies in a car accident that results from her driving after a night of partying. The accident leaves her racked in guilt and emotionally vulnerable to a point that she begins hallucinating strange visions and waking dreams. Even though Cassie's friends, Annabelle and Matt, as well as a local priest, which is played by Luke Wilson, which is very odd, all attempt to assist her in coping with the loss. I don't want to give the movie away, but I actually really enjoyed this Soul Survivors movie. But anyway, I'm going to do an episode on that on another time. But this kind of reminded me of that, but not as enjoyable for me. So there was parts of this movie, right, I really, really, really loved. And then there was parts of this movie that I thought were just absolutely garbage and like, who the fuck put that in the movie? Like, and I mean now, awful. Like, I can't explain to you how fucking terrible it was in parts, but then it was so good in other parts. Um, Obviously, it's like they're trying to modernize the original premise, but there's a lot of criticism because it lacked like haunting atmosphere. Because it kind of goes in and out of like kind of being scary and weird and creepy and like the hallucinations and stuff, and then it kind of goes like some other kind of like feels like a Hallmark movie. Um, the director, who is Adam Grossman and Ian Kestner. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. The director aimed to pay tribute to the original while introducing new elements, resulting in a blend of old and new horror tropes. Yeah, some of it worked, some of it didn't, to be honest with you. It's kind of hit or miss. There's a really good funhouse scene. She has all these visions in like a carnival funhouse thing. And it reminds me of Soul Survivors. It's like blurring the line between reality and hallucinations and all that stuff, which I thought it's a cool premise for a movie. She also has this weird confrontation with this mysterious figure in a hall of mirrors, and it really has this like kind of psychological like it's really cool. I can't really say too much without giving away the whole movie, but it's definitely you know what, it's worth seeing once. Larry Miller, who plays the this character here, is probably the saving grace of the movie, to be honest with you. Him, so creepy, so weird, so unsettling. Do you know what, as well, actually, as a kid, I remember being terrified by that artwork. I think that's a really, really, really cool artwork, to be honest with you. Tom says, I've also never seen it and want to love the original. Yeah, I'd love to chat about this more in depth, to be honest with you. I'm gonna jump off it now, maybe save it for that. But yeah, it's this one, I don't know. I don't know where I sit with it. I feel like I really liked it at times and then thought it was shit at other times. And I kind of want to watch it again. I don't know. Maybe I'll take more from it. I feel like it's a little bit underrated in parts, but then there's, like I said, it's very 50-50. Like, you're going to be very hot and cold on it. It's going to be hard to, like, you know, pin down how do you actually feel about it. And there was another one that I had watched recently, which is called American Fright Fest. So this was another one that was just completely random. I'd always seen the picture, and I feel like it tied in a lot of aspects that I enjoy in movies and in life in general. Um, During Halloween, a disgraced filmmaker is hired to organize a horror festival in an abandoned asylum. Things take a deadly turn when real psychopaths escape and begin hunting the attendees, blurring the lines between stage scares and genuine terror. Um, I enjoyed this for what it was. Now, very low budget. Don't expect anything absolutely fantastic. But I will say a character in it that I absolutely loved was the guy who plays the director, which is Dylan Walsh, who is the stepfather. That's like all in first images are all him as the stepfather premiere. Or stepfather, as you Americans would say. Very good actor, very weird, very creepy and annoying, and yeah, I don't know. I really like him, to be honest with you. I think he's a good actor. He's um he's a fun one to watch in movies. Um, Tom says, I'm cooking, so probably hang out and stay with you listening. Yeah, thanks, dude. There's like there's 27 people supposedly tuned in right now, and you are the only person who is commenting. I don't know what's gotten into people. I don't know why people refuse to comment or refuse to talk. Um, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to fill like the dead air when people just won't interact. Um, Fright Fest. What did I say? This was 2018. Yeah, so again, like a super low budget and stuff. Don't expect a massive amount from it. Um, there's like commentary about horror attractions, the genre itself. They kind of talk about like people's fascination with fear, which is kind of cool. It was shot in a real abandoned asylum, which kind of, I suppose, adds to the atmosphere and like how it looks. It is quite cool. Um, I do like the idea of like like real psychopaths infiltrating the event and like just the whole thing descends into madness. That is kind of cool. And then there's this like big, like climactic battle between survivors and killers at the end, and it's kind of it all takes place in like this big labyrinth of like corridors in the asylum, which is it's cool. Again, I don't know if they executed it overly well, but it's decent. Like, I mean, it's watchable, it's fun. There's kind of is what it is. I hate saying that all the time. I feel like I shouldn't have to as a horror fan, preface everything with like, well, don't expect too much. And I don't mean that in a way of like that it's terrible. I just mean that I think sometimes people expect movies to be like, the cinematography has to be perfect, all the gore and all the effects have to be like absolutely perfect. And just for me personally, that's not what horror is always about. I think you can get away with a lot of things in horror, as you should, because I think it's a playground for trying different things and unique things and fun things. Um, and I hope it stays that way. I don't want to see it go weird where everything has to be all like edgy and cool and um, stuff like that. So I finally got to see Hard Eyes. I had flip flopped between the idea of going to see it, not going to see it. I booked a ticket. So over here we have this thing called the Omni Pass, and just excuse me, I got to drink water. And with the Omni Pass, it's like I'm sure you guys have it for like AMC and all different things in North America and Canada. Um, it's like one of these passes where like you get a ticket for every movie that comes out each month. So it's like I don't know, it's like $20 now, I think. And you get one ticket for everything. And they ran this like mystery horror movie thing. So I booked a ticket for it and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go, but I was like, I'll book a ticket anyway, just in case I can make it. And I forgot about it or something, or couldn't make it anyway. And like obviously they don't reveal what the movie is if you don't go. So I'm like, fuck, I really wanted to know what that was. So Valentine's weekend comes and then I go to try and book a ticket for Hard Eyes. And for some reason I can't use my Omni Pass. it says that I can use my OmniPass on all the other films bar this one. So it turns out anyway that this was the movie that they showed like 2 weeks early at this like mystery horror movie night thing. So that's how I figured that out. So yeah. Anyway, I eventually got a chance to see it. For those of you who don't know, Heart Eyes is an American romantic comedy slasher film directed by Josh Rubin. The story revolves around the Heart Eyes killer, a masked assailant who terrorizes couples each Valentine's Day. This year, co-workers Ali McCabe, who was played by Olivia Holt, and Jay Simmons, played by Mason Gooding, who most people will know from the Scream movies as Randy's nephew, find themselves targeted due to their budding chemistry, despite not being an official couple. As they navigate their feelings, they must also evade the relentless killer. So I'm not going to spoil this or anything. So this is not exactly, obviously that should have told you this, but it's not exactly a horror movie. If you're still thinking that like that's what to expect. If anything, it's like a rom-com with some horror elements. The best way I could explain it is like if Hallmark made a slasher movie. That makes sense. I've seen a lot of people reference it like it's like a Hallmark horror movie, which is essentially what it is. Looks better than Hallmark and stuff like that, but essentially, yeah, that's what it is. That's what you're getting. Overall, decent movie. I'm a little bit disappointed. I was expecting to kind of come out, thinking like, yes, we're getting another great like holiday horror franchise, like Thanksgiving or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see another movie from this IP as well, to be totally honest with you. It is from the team that done like Happy Death Day and Freaky and Time Cut, whatever it's called. So it's very in that vein. If you've seen any of those movies, it's very in the vein of those movies. I think it had an okay opening weekend, but it supposedly performed really weak with couples. And then on its second week, it had a rise in ticket sales, and I think it continues to have like a bigger run. I think that's notoriously never happens where horror movies have a better second weekend than they had a first weekend. But this is kind of building as it goes along, which is good. Like I like to see that for fresh, new, original ideas. That is fun. I think it needs to make around 45 million though to be considered anyway successful. And at the minute, it's sitting around like 25, 30 million, so it still has a ways to go. The two leads are great. Like they're enjoyable. They work well together. Kind of a roller coaster watching this movie because it goes from like this lovey-dovey storyline and then like bam, out of nowhere, we see this badass killer hacking and slashing his or her way through people. The killer design was great. That all black costume, long trench coat. They have an array of weapons, which are fun. There's like this little crossbow thing that they use, which is good. I thought that was kind of cool and fun, kind of modern. Throwing knives with like little hearts cut out of the steel on the handle. Some kind of sword, machete kind of thing they use as well, which is cool. The only complaint I have about the killer, right? And everybody that watches this, I want you to come back and reference this to me, or I don't know, contact me on social media or something somewhere and tell me if you noticed this too. So, when the killer is walking at any point in the movie, the sound of his motherfucking boots. Now, it's obviously mixed in post. It's not something that was actually done, at the time. It was something they put in after the fact. The sound of his boots walking are so loud and so obnoxious. It's like, I don't know. I can't explain it. Like it was really off-putting to me. I couldn't help but notice everything. It's literally doof, 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 doof. Like every time he's walking, that's what you can hear. And I'm like, why the fuck? And I kind of get it. They were trying to make it seem like, he's like right behind you, he's coming right after you and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a little bit off-putting. It was kind of taking me out at the moment. I was like, fucking hell. What does he weigh? Like, a million fucking pounds. Why does he sound like that? But again, like it's such a minimal complaint. Fun movie though. Kills are fun. Exactly what you'd expect, really. from balls getting slashed to arrows in the face, and that's only like the tame stuff. There's much more in it as well that's really enjoyable. Definitely worth a watch, and I would say it has potential to spawn a little franchise. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another movie coming from this IP, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't be necessarily mad at it either. Just know what you're getting into. There's a lot of romantic aspects. So yeah. Just expect that. I done a double bill the other day, so I went to see this movie first actually, and then I saw Hard Eyes later. But yeah, I saw these both within like the same day. And that is The Monkey, which is another American comedy film directed by Osgood Perkins, adapted from the Stephen King 1980 short story of the same name. The narrative centers on twin brothers Hal and Bill Shelburne, who are both portrayed by Theo James, who does a really good job of doing it. And also, I won't spoil this, Tom, don't worry. They inherit a sinister wind-up monkey toy from their estranged father. This malevolent toy is linked to a series of inexplicable and gruesome deaths, compelling the brothers to confront the escalating terror it brings into their lives. Okay, so my thoughts. Off the back of an absolute whirlwind that was Longlegs last year, Oz Perkins is back again with this big, bold, and fun adaptation of a Stephen King story. Let me start off by saying this doesn't in any way spoil it. 22 people die in this movie in a variety of insane ways. So, start of the movie, let's say the opening 20, 25 minutes, probably let you know what to expect going forward. And if you enjoy that, I think you'll enjoy the movie. But it does kind of shift when it goes like 25 years in the future. It kind of changes a bit. From that point, it leans very heavily on the comedy. That first like 20, 25 minutes is a little bit more serious, and honestly, a pace and a tone I would have preferred that they had kept. Yeah, when it fast forwards to like modern day with the adult characters, there's subplots in there that feel useless and kind of pointless. Um, okay, so this never happens to me, right? Ever. Literally, no matter what I go see. I actually fell asleep at one point, which is not something I do. But yeah, I I don't know how I feel about this movie. I did enjoy it, but I couldn't help but feel like something was missing. Like the gore was fantastic, the inventive nature of the deaths was good. But I just couldn't help after a while. It was like each one of the deaths was like a setup for a joke. Which was funny the first few times. But remember, I just mentioned 22 people die in this movie. So after the first few times, it's kind of not so funny anymore. Like, I don't know if I can laugh at the same thing 22 times in a row, if you know what I mean. It's just like not as funny. I've literally never fell asleep in a horror movie, says Tom. Yeah, it's same as, right? Now, when I say fall asleep, like, I wouldn't say full blown asleep, but I was definitely like dozing off at one point. I was like, this is kind of like not really getting my attention here. And it was to do with like the subplots and stuff that came into it. Um, Yeah, like I wanted to love this so bad, but I came out liking it, but not loving it. But I wouldn't say you should let this put you off seeing it. Go support the genre. Don't go in with high expectations though. I know marketing campaigns nowadays really set us up to expect 10 out of 10 movies all the time. And maybe that's the problem. Um, we don't really know what we're expecting. It is a fun movie, but it's not amazing. It's absurdly funny at times. I'll give it that, despite like the terrible things that are happening. Uh, and I do love like the stylistic choices in it, but it didn't always land for me. I wished a few scenes were played out more with scares in mind rather than like, oh, this is just a setup for another laugh. Because sometimes the laughs don't land either. So I'm like, that was pointless. You could have just made that scary and not made it funny. The setup is great. The plot has real potential, I think. Like I said, the first half focused on the kids, I found was much stronger than the latter half. The acting is solid, the kills are spectacular. And there's no shortage of like absolutely just insane gore. However, it does feel a bit overly polished to the point that at times it kind of resembles like a Tim Burton-esque kind of movie. It's a horror comedy, obviously. Some scenes drag on though, like way too long. That's where I think I started like my attention started to slip. I was like, you're focusing too much on the boring stuff now. It's just like I don't know why it's like it was trying too hard. Um, like I said, some of the humor and the stylization land well, but a lot of it fell flat for me personally. Um, that said, when you're rolling your eyes though, the cheesy scene, a brutal kill splatters across the screen. It kind of pulls you back in again. You're like, oh, this is the movie I'm watching. In the end, I had written the monkey is the kind of movie you watch for the kills and little else, but you might just find yourself rewatching it every time it's on. I'd probably give it a good 6 out of 10, I would say, like a solid 6 out of 10. I definitely recommend checking it out because people might have a different opinion than me. That's just my opinion on my first watch. I may rewatch this again when it comes out for streaming or whatever, and I might completely change how I feel about it. It's also actually interesting to note that according to Oz Perkins. So I don't. Let me see if I can find an image here. So if you look at the monkey, right, you'll notice something. We all think that this is the monkey that we all know of. Like you think of you think of Monkey Shines. Yeah. So everybody thinks of this, right? And that's what we think of when we're thinking of this movie. But there's a big difference. If you notice in Monkey Shines, he has symbols. Okay. And in the monkey, he has a little drum. So the decision to have him banging the drum instead of the cymbals was due to the rights to a cymbal banging version being owned by the Walt Disney Company. The toy appeared as a character in Toy Story 3, which means that Disney now owned the rights to that little monkey that like bangs the cymbals together. So because of that, they had to change it and make it a monkey playing a drum, which is weird. And it's really ironic as well because I read more into this, and the symbol monkey was in Toy Story 3 in the first place because the director of Toy Story 3, called Lee Unkrich, the reason that he put that monkey banging the cymbals, the scary little monkey in it, he put that in that because he was a huge fan of Stephen King. So it's like this weird full circle thing, and then they ended up not being able to use the fucking thing because Disney have the rights to it. So just rather than have any issues, they just changed it completely, which I thought was quite wild. Yeah, Tom fucking Disney. Well, look, this is what they do with everything now. I have a friend here as well that's like big into his movies and stuff. Not so much horror, but like just movies in general. And like he always gives out about like how Disney have ruined. Like he's a big fan of Marvel and stuff and Star Wars, and they've just ruined all of it for him. Like it's just like unbearable now. He just can't watch any of it because it's fucking garbage. Next one I watched, again, won't be everybody's bag, but I really enjoyed it personally, which is a movie called Dark Match. It's a Canadian horror film directed by Lowell Dean, who is also known for Wolf Cop, featuring a cast that includes Aisha, Stephen Ogg, Sarah Canning, and professional wrestler Chris Jericho. The film centers on a small time wrestling company that accepts a lucrative gig in a remote town, only to discover that the community is controlled by a mysterious cult leader. So, to give you kind of a more fleshed out one, I suppose, the story follows Misbehave, a wrestler frustrated with her stagnant career in the 1980s era SAW Wrestling League, when her manager Rusty secures a $50,000 offer for the team to perform at a private event in a secluded town. The group, including Misbehave's partner Jolene, eagerly agree. Upon arrival, they are welcomed by the enigmatic cult leader known as the Prophet, played by Chris Jericho. As the event unfolds, the wrestlers realize they've been lured into a deadly tournament, intertwined with occult rituals. So, this movie, I actually had fun with this movie. Again, look, it's a wrestling slash horror slash occult slash Satanist movie. So again, don't expect anything amazing. It is what it is. Going into it, like I said, didn't expect much. I was actually pleasantly surprised right up until the very end. Now, I would love to give this away so bad, but I won't. But I will say there's something that happens at the very, 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 very end of this movie that I just fuck me. It just there's oh my god, if I was in any way involved with this movie, I would have been like, who the fuck decided to put this in? And no, get rid of it now. You're going to ruin the entire movie. Get rid of it. All the hard work we've put in up until this point, creating this story, you are literally going to ruin it with this. I don't even think if they had had the money, they could have pulled this off right. It just looked, oh god, I can't even, like, it was fucking awful. Um, it has this weird, like, grainy old school visual. I thought that was a nice touch. One of my biggest complaints though would be the lack of fleshing out the characters, and like subplots and backstories. Like, as a huge horror fan and previously a massive wrestling guy, we always want backstories and lore and stuff like that. The movie at times suggests that Jericho's character is driven by revenge against Joe and the company he works for, because it kind of shows like that he gets cheated out of like a title shot, or no, sorry, a title win. Then at other times it suggests that they're like all satanic crazies and there's like nothing else behind it, only that. Then there's a mention of them making money from selling the footage of all the craziness happening, like in like a snuff film thing. It's a little unfortunate though, because none of them really get any time for us to explore them. Now, the movie is an hour and 34 minutes long, which I think is perfect at the same time. So it's hard to like pick what do you flesh out and what do you not. Because obviously, if you start to flesh out all those ideas, the runtime gets longer and longer and longer. And I may have gotten bored and just turned it off. So it's a hard battle to kind of play. There's a character in it, a masked character. I don't think he shows up on a poster, does he? This guy here. An Enigma, I think he's called. He's mostly mute, but brilliant character. Really enjoyed him, actually, to be honest with you. He was a cool little addition, I think, to the movie and the story. I personally enjoyed this. I thought it was fun, it was unique, it was different. I like when people just fucking make what they want to make. And this is the kind of stuff, if I were to make movies, it would be things like some of the stuff I've talked about today is like where I'd be aiming for. I wouldn't be aiming for these big, triple A, like, oh, let's reinvent the wheel. I want to like make weird, quirky shit like this. And this is exactly what that is. The idea for all the matches as well is a really fun touch, I found. So they realize that all the matches are like real. It's not like like a wrestling thing where they're like telling each other the end and all that stuff. Like they have an Inferno match. Which is kind of basically what it says. Same idea kind of as the Inferno matches that they had before in WWF and stuff. But this one, like, you actually burn someone alive, burn them to death or whatever, and that's how you win. There's an art match. Can't really remember. There's like a big pile of mud or something in the middle of the ring. But then they make them, it's like kickboxer. They make them dip their hands in glue and like broken glass and stuff. Not really sure. But again, it's quite graphic. Like they're like tearing chunks of skin off of each other and stabbing each other in the neck and shit. There's a wind match. There's a water match. Obviously all gimmicky, but it's a great concept, you see, because it's a wrestling / horror movie. So gimmicks work perfect here. The gore is really fun and at times extremely violent and just horrific. The visuals are good. Overall, I think it's a decent movie that I think as the years go on will definitely find a bigger and bigger cult following, especially within like the crossover between horror and wrestling. I definitely think that there's going to be a nice little crossover there of people. Yeah, Tom says, of course you'd love that. Yeah, I mean, like, look, it was kind of made for someone like me, right? But it's a fun one. You should watch it if you ever get a chance and you're bored. You should just watch it. It's unique. It's different. Like, so do I. I don't know how many times I've said this to you, Tom. I want to watch some of the old pay-per-views. I'm telling you, I'll pick some of the badass ones as well, but like Kane and The Undertaker and Stone Cold and The Rock and all them like would having these crazy matches where they're all interfering with each other's matches and stuff. And it was that Attitude Era was just so fucking good. Like it was unreal. And the final movie that I'm going to talk about is one that I think a lot of people have probably seen or heard of at this point, and that is Companion, an American black comedy science fiction thriller directed and written by Drew Hancock. The film stars Sophie Thatcher as Iris, with Jack Quaid as Josh, portraying a couple whose weekend retreat with friends at a remote cabin descends into chaos upon the revelation that one of the guests is a companion robot. The cast also includes Lucas Gage, Megan Suri, Harvey Something, and Rupert Friend. So, yeah, there's like these couples. They go to a getaway in a secluded lakeside estate. The retreat takes a dark turn when they discover one among them is a companion robot, leading to a series of unsettling events that challenge their perceptions of reality and trust. Tom says, I think it'd be so fun drunk. Yeah, watching old school pay-per-views while drinking would be the best, because what we would do is we could act like we're the commentary team. I'm telling you, that idea is golden. Acting like we're the commentary team. And then all we do is we put the full thing on Patreon, the full pay-per-view from start to finish. And that's going to be like, what, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then what we could do is we could just clip a match and put that out for free, and then let people cross over then and tell them, if you want the full pay-per-view, the real fun shit, go here. And if that picked up any steam, we could actually do one live where we could bring people on to like a private stream or whatever, and we can all watch the pay-per-view together while drinking and chatting. That would be fun. Thoughts on Companion? $10 million movie, 90-minute movie with good writing that was really well acted. If anybody that's involved in any way with Hollywood, by some chance somehow sees this, make more of these kind of movies. This movie had so much and then some. The laughs were great. They were well timed. They played out well. The characters and the dialogue worked perfectly. They worked perfectly with each other. It was believable within the premise. Obviously, look, some of it's a stretch, but within the premise of what they were going for, it was all totally believable. All the decisions, all the interactions, all made sense. The only downfall I will say that I had for Companion, I don't know if you guys will feel the same about this, is if you saw anything, like literally anything at all beforehand, which is basically impossible to avoid nowadays, it may ruin at least one of the movie's twists. So, like, for example, if you look at this image, what can you see? There's something obviously off with this image, right? Now, if you think that you're extremely clever and you have it all figured out, then let me tell you something. You couldn't be more wrong. So wrong. The movie has so many twists and turns that a few times I actually turned to the person I was with and I was like, what? And just smiling to myself on multiple occasions. This is how I want movies to be made going forward. This was so fun. Sophie Thatcher was so good. Jack Quaid was fucking brilliant. He's actually becoming more and more one of my like favorite actors, to be honest with you. He's really good in Scream as well. Yeah, that one I personally think that's a really good movie and contender for like, I don't know if you call it straight horror, but contender for like one of the better horror movies, I think, of this whole year, even though it's only coming towards the end of February. I have seen a few other things. Let me pull up. I had them written down here, but I'm not going to go into detail about them. I've been watching The Dark Side of the Ring, which is a wrestling show that I've been trying to tell Tom to watch for I don't know how long. There's a good episode I watched on Doink the Clown, and another one on Owen Hart and that accident he had where he fell from the rafters and died. That was good. Let's see, what else did I watch? There's a ton of shit like that I've watched. I watched that new Gabby Petito true crime thing. I watched that thing on Netflix about that mad bitch who pretended she had brain cancer and like cancer of the liver and the spleen and all this shit, and she ended up getting caught. She was after scamming a lot of stuff. She got a book deal. she got to deal with to have her app on Apple Watches, and yeah, so I was watching that, and I watched like a small portion of a documentary about Klaus Kinski, which I'm actually going to finish tonight because it was really enjoyable because he's just mental. And one thing I've really been enjoying, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like hopefully me and Tom are going to sit down and really dig into this when both of us finish it. I think when this season ends, we might do something on it. And that is Severance, the Apple show, Severance with Adam Scott, directed by Ben Stiller. It is possibly the best show that I've seen in a long, long, long time. Anybody who is not watching it, watch it. Just go in blind. Yes, the first episode, now you're gonna be like, what in the fuck? And even still, I've just started season 2 and I'm still a bit like that. That's the point of the show. That's the point of the writing. Everything is done on purpose. So we are discovering and itching to find out more exactly like the characters in the show are. And that's the point. It really makes you want to come back for each episode. Um, that's the part that I love about it. So I would definitely when this season is over, I think me and Tom are going to sit down and do a bit of a deep dive into the show, some of the stuff behind it, our thoughts, and then maybe like a little bit of, I suppose, bringing it into reality and like, could this really happen at some point, and what would be the consequences and things that would come about if something like this were to be actually put in place. Um, so yeah, that's kind of it for this. Again, nobody really interacted with me once again. But I'm hoping that will change over time. The more these we start to do, I'm hoping that people will eventually start jumping in and just chatting back and forth. That's why I'm only doing like trying to do a tight hour and then that's it. Because until you guys we start to have a bit of a community here, it's going to be hard to talk for 2 hours straight with no back and forth with people. So yeah, that is the goal eventually. I do hope we get there. I look forward to doing this again. I'm not sure when I will, probably next week, maybe the week after. We might try it again. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's hard to just talk to yourself for an hour straight. I feel like I have a sore throat, even though I didn't have a sore throat starting this. So yeah, it's kind of hard when you're not bouncing back and forth off someone, but hopefully over time we'll be able to build that live community up between both of our shows. If you did enjoy this or you're watching it after the fact or anything like that, definitely let me know in the comments your thoughts on all these movies or anything in general to do with horror. And make sure to check out Class Horror Cast, all of our other stuff, our episodes, interviews, things like that. And also check out Strange Brew Podcast. And yeah, I guess we'll see you all real soon. Peace.